And like you said, the devil is not, he didn't quit. He didn't tap out just because Trump got elected. Lots of fights still to be had. In fact, the first one I want to dive into, Brad, I get the PJI emails. So let's jump right into it with this major victory in Kansas. At the urging of Pacific Justice, the Kansas legislators successfully voted to override Governor Laura Kelly's veto of House Bill 2311, a bill that would have prohibited the state from forcing prospective foster families to adhere to LGBTQ ABCD plus ideology. Walk us through this victory and the role PJI played in making this happen.
Yeah, it's real important people need to understand this because, what we're dealing with is the issue of whether or not, a Christian couple or an Orthodox Jewish couple, for example, could be disqualified, not because of their background, their economics, but solely because of their religious beliefs with regards to not wanting to encourage or affirm gender confusion. First off, I don't think any truly loving couple or family would want to encourage any kind of confusion, much less a confusion that statistically is akin to more than a 1,200% increase in suicide risk. This is horrific. So this is very important. Many people think of Kansas City and Kansas and it's like, oh, that's safe territory. There's no place, quote, safe in the United States when it comes to this kind of an issue affronting parental rights. There are social workers in all 50 states who are zealous in wanting to take children from Christian families. Make no mistake, we see it all the time. So we deal with these issues in terms of litigation. We also deal with it in terms of legislation. It's a whole nother division we have. And this was something we've taken on. We're involved in legislation in 20 states right now. This is a great victory, and we strongly weighed in on this and made the case as to why this would not just be bad policy, but also unconstitutional for them to do this moving forward. We at Pacific Justice Institute, as you probably well know, we have a case in Oregon right now. We're litigating this, where Oregon went the other direction. They said, oh, no, you're disqualified from being a foster parent or even adopting through the state of Oregon if you are basically a Christian with Christian beliefs regarding this issue and you're not willing to compromise your beliefs and encourage something so harmful and so sick on children who are already been taken from their families and already traumatized to some degree. So we're litigating that in Oregon. It may be coming up in Colorado as pending legislation that would actually say you're disqualified. If you're a Christian couple effectively and you believe what the Bible says and you're not willing to encourage confusion in children who have issues, you're disqualified. And so that's a real serious problem. Over 70% of the children who are simply left alone and not encouraged, just left alone, who have gender confusion, will work it through and no longer have that gender confusion. So this is why it's so humane and just from a human rights perspective that we step in on this very aggressively.
Yeah, shocker. Let kids be kids, and they'll outgrow these strange ideas that they can be a different gender, or a dinosaur maybe, or a cat. We've all heard the stories of putting litter boxes in the school restrooms for kids who think they're cats, and it's just a lot of who would have thought that we would live in such bizarro world where common sense just got thrown out the window. I want to talk about Colorado, Brad, but do you think this victory in Kansas? You said there is no safe space really in the country because there's social workers everywhere who are zealous to take kids away from Christian parents. Will this have ripple effects in any way to other states, do you think, this victory in Kansas?
Yeah, I think it's going to require other states that may have just sort of been complacent or in denial of that this is an issue to realize it is an issue. And I think we're going to see more red states, in particular freedom-loving states, pass laws that are going to protect families from being discriminated against because of their faith when it comes to being foster parents or adopting in their state or through state agencies. This is going to be the continuation of the Great Divide, if you will, like we've never seen in our history since the Civil War in terms of freedom versus oppression, oppressive blue states versus freedom-loving red states. The red states are moving very fast and aggressively on passing great laws, protecting our freedoms, protecting religious freedom, parents' rights, sanctity of life. It's a great day. It's a great time for celebration for those states. The blue states are moving in the other direction. They don't get it. They don't see that they're leaving mainstream America behind, and they're going to pay a price for it, I think, in the long term. But right now, these battles are taking place all across the country. Also, we need to understand that, social workers, people say, oh, they're so nice and friendly. Well, a lot of them are, and a lot of them are great people. But a lot of them are messed up. In fact, the reason a lot of them are social workers and became sociology majors, which is not a hard degree to get, I'm just going to say right up front. It's one of the easiest degrees you can get if you go to college. I'm just saying. But the point is, the reason they choose those careers, those degrees, oftentimes it's because they themselves were abused, sexually abused oftentimes. And because of that, a lot of them have their own issues. There's a much higher percentage of people in the LGBTQ community who are social workers than the average American. That's a fact. I've been in juvenile. I've dealt with this issue plenty. It's a real problem. So there's a heavy bias that many social workers have. Not all of them, but many of them have inherently against people of faith. And then there's also a bias to take the children in the first place because they get $8,000 plus per head per child that they take by the federal government with no strings attached. That's it's a huge crisis. We need to be petitioning our congressmen and our senators and the president to move on this, either eliminate all federal funding for taking children from families moving forward, or put in due process protections that are heavily warranted, like a jury of your peers that we give to criminals and O.J. Simpson's. Moms and dads should have the same, at the very least, same due process protection when it comes to losing their children permanently.
Yeah, that's wild. I did not know that. So you're saying not only is there a disproportionate amount of LGBT individuals in social work, but they also have financial incentive to do what they're doing.
Yeah, big time. In fact, I've talked to social workers before. They call me and they say, I got a problem. She's, they're telling me I need to take more kids. That I'm not generating enough money. Wow. I mean, I've heard that's not second, that's firsthand. And they say, but I'm a Christian. I can't take this kids from this homeschooled family just because they spanked with the belt. I just told them no, use a paddle with curved edges. And I got scolded because I didn't take the children. And they lost money. I mean, that is how sick this whole system is. And that's one reason why we've prepared an article. It's a free how-to article. It's called 12 Steps to Protect Your Children from CPS, or social workers. And they can download it for free on our website at pji.org. Click under Parents' Rights. They'll see it as one of the article, 12 Steps to Protect Your Children from CPS social workers. I highly recommend that because it is an ongoing problem that definitely needs to be addressed. But it's only compounded if we have legislation that makes it even easier to take children, not because the kids are abused, but simply because the parents are Christians. And so we're not just talking about parents being denied to be foster parents or denied adoption. We're also talking about parents having their children taken from them, their birth children taken from them, simply because they're not willing to go along and encourage gender confusion that is so harmful and so fatal to children in the end.